Alright guys, little Civic content for you. So this is actually a friend of Bruce's. It is here for a few modifications. One of is to lower it. You see it's at stock height. Get a side shot right here. So we're going to be doing coilovers on this, dropping it down, and a few small mods to increase the power, header, exhaust, and tune. And we're going to go over the fluids and check the dry belt. This car really could use some love, some TLC. It's a little dirty on the outside. It looks a little dirty on the inside too. This could really use a full detail. These seats are almost shiny. They almost look like leather. They should be obviously like this material right here. It's kind of interesting. When we very first saw these cars when they came out back in the day, we used to look at them and go, wow, how do you work on this? Well, now we work on so many, it's no big deal. Obviously you remove this plastic panel and the tray underneath. There's a lot more room, but for the most part it's all accessible from underneath. So the coilovers are on, brake fluid is flushed, clutch fluid is flushed. They were both pretty dark. Engine oil is something we always check before we do anything with a car, especially tuning it or putting it through any kind of extra work. And of course, not only was it kind of low, it was dark too. So that's another reason I always recommend change your oil. Don't be that guy that goes 10,000 miles on his oil changer, not doing yourself or the car any favors. It's what they call false economy. You're saving a little bit of money now and costing a lot more later. So we're going to go ahead and contact the customer, talk them into an oil change. I'm sure they're just going to say yes, because they're going to go by our recommendations. It's a good idea. Change your oil, folks. Don't take my word for it. Take your car's word for it. It'll be happier. Let's take a quick look. You see how dark that is? See it against my hand? There's probably not a whole lot of that in there. Looked like about a quart and a half low needed. Alright. This one is done. Now we have a couple of other jobs going on, but I just gotta move a couple of things around. This one did 207 to the wheels, not bad. Considering it's got a kind of a small intake. So if you wanted to get an update on the truck, well, the truck runs. It's just because we have this fuel sending issue. Let me go ahead and start it up real quick and I'll tell you about it. There is going to be an update when we get some news. So basically, the module doesn't see that it has fuel. It's showing that it's completely empty. It doesn't register at all. Even in the computer it shows no fuel level. So we're thinking that it's put into the reduced power mode. But if you start the truck, it starts up, runs fine. The light right now is obviously for a fuel level, no sending unit. We're hoping when we change the module, when I get Jared from Current Performance down here, we can wire that up and it'll work. But right now when you drive down the street, it goes about a quarter of a mile and throws it into a reduced power mode, so it just gets extra slow. I think it only goes 26 miles an hour. It puts it into a really safe limp mode. So we're thinking that it's the fuel. Once we get that figured out, we should be able to tune it. I'll get a hold of Nate, get him over here, tune it, and make this thing really start working like he should do, and I can drive it again. Alright, so take this for a quick ride. Just make sure everything is the way it should be. We did clutch fluid, brake fluid, and now the clutch feels much better. It feels smoother. And it's got a pretty mellow sound. You hear that? Try to drive the shift one-handed. Yeah, I think he's going to be excited. So, apart from a couple of the small bolt-ons, when we tune them, we maximize low down power, because that's where you're actually going to feel it, where you're going to drive it. So that's where you want it to actually come in, and it's pretty nice sounding. It's kind of like the whole driving experience, like I've talked about. I'm not talking about loud and annoying, just talking about the sound, kind of goes along with the ride. And something that I've noticed more, I drove the Porsche for the last 2 days, and it makes no sound. It feels fairly peppy. It's not fast. It just feels okay. But if it had some exhaust sound in relation to when you hit the throttle, it would just feel better. It's kind of the driving experience. It sounds crazy, but I'm sure some of you guys know what I'm talking about. Again, not talking about loud and annoying, just sound. It just goes along with the experience. It's like the last good Honda VTEC motor right here. It's like it all changed after this. Honda's kind of lost what it used to be. Of course, it's still making good cars and good power, but that nice VTEC changeover, nice crisp feeling in a rev out to $8,000, it's just, it's gone away. The new Civic Type R, I think redlines at like 65 or 66, and it feels like things are just starting to happen, and then a rev limiter. But of course, it makes much more power low down, which is a different driving experience. I gotta admit, this is just where my passion is, which is another reason I kind of like the Porsche. It revs to $8,000. It's got that feeling. It doesn't make the cool VTEC sound, but it's got that nice full RPM linear power band, which is what I like. So this one's done. I'm happy with it. I was going to look at the numbers, make sure all the trims are where they're supposed to be, and we'll call this customer and tell him to come and pick it up. I definitely recommend him a detail. So this one is here for a clutch and a UK mod, and he added a shifter rebuild and diff fluid, and just basically look over the car, which is something we like to do. Just so you don't think that we get these cars in and then try and talk you up into things. That's kind of like the business model for a lot of shops, but fortunately we are booked so far out. We are fortunate that we can tell you, get out of here, you don't need anything, and feel good about doing it, which is obviously what we want to do. We want people to do the same to us if we need something. I don't want to call a guy out to check my AC fan and him tell me I need a whole new house. Because, yes, your house is wrong. The AC's fine. 250 grand and you'll be in good shape. We like to look everything over. It hasn't been used that much. It did tow it down here, and obviously the rust on here will go as soon as he hits the brakes, but we're going to go ahead, get the flashlight out, take a look at the pads, make sure there's nothing leaking, and no visual signs of anything going wrong as we go. But we're going to take it apart. The clutch feels awful. He's going to be in love with it when he gets it back, because the clutch just feels very, very stiff. Even though it's an OE clutch, when the grease gets old, the slide gets old. We'll show you that when we pull it apart, but it really takes away from the feel of it. So the UK mod, pretty simple. Join that pipe to that pipe. All it does is increase the sound about 15%. Really makes a difference, and it's one of those mods that doesn't get annoying. It just sounds a little bit nicer, a little bit of exhaust sound in there. Alright, so I just finished welding this. We have to go take this to Austin and get it stripped and painted, or powder coated black, sorry, not painted. And he is like right over there. So I'm going to take a look at his truck. He's got his truck running and he needs the intake on it now, so he is going to bring it over Monday, and we're going to build the intake for him. He's bought the parts. Well, he does so many favors for us, rushing things through, and of course, when it's around our own personal stuff, he tends to just do it for free. So we're going to build his intake for free and see what else we can do for him, and he'll be able to be driving a V8 truck. Imagine that. Alright, so this clutch was well and truly trashed. You can see where it's been slipping, and the disc, there is nothing left on the disc at all. It's down to the rivets. So I wanted to show you this, one of the reasons it felt so stiff too. This is the slide, and this is the bearing that runs on the slide, and you see it kind of looks like it's got velvet on it. It's so bad, and it's dry, and it's got a ridge on that slide right there. So this is the new slide. If you get a clutch done by us, or even buy a clutch, we're going to have to clean this now, got all that yuck. We include this in our clutch kit. This is something that I recommend you do. If you're going to do the clutch, do it once, don't do it again and wish that you'd replace this. So also, you've seen this before, we include the new rubber boot and the Nietzsche bearing, and this is the OEM disc, this is the OEM pressure plate. We've already put the main seal in and pilot bearing in, so this has to be taken out as well. Again, this just makes a big difference. This is nice and squishy, Over time, the one that comes off it is like plastic, and it just kind of holds like a funny shape. This kind of sits and rolls in like this and doesn't come back to its original position. So again, buy our clutch kit, you get all this stuff. Alright, so I skipped a bunch of videotaping. I've been crazy busy. So this car is done now. New clutch and the UK mod, plus diff fluid, and let's see, shifter rebuild. So they're done. It sounds good. I'll let it warm up and I'll give you a little bit of a sample on the sound. I'm gonna go drive it, make sure the clutch is adjusted correctly. It's a factory OEM clutch, which is pretty much the best clutch there is. So I really go with OEM wherever I can. If I need to make more power, obviously there's other clutches, but OEM would be the ultimate option in my opinion. So it's been crazy busy. Esther's been off this week. Last week George was off 2 days. That put us behind a little bit, and he had to leave this morning. His son is sick, so he had to jet off and go take care of him. So I've been here alone again. So I guess we're at a point where we really could use some more help for times like this. That way we can all kind of take a little bit of the slack if somebody has to take off, because right now when it's all on me, it puts so much pressure and stress on me. So let me move that car and then take this one for a ride, make sure everything is good. Alright, so we are all good. That one test drives just fine. That one's good to go. This one is just sitting here, that one is just sitting here, and I am wore out.
Well, John, I always said I'm going to bring you the biggest.
We'll get it.
Biggest movie in the world. It says it.
I'll put some wood behind there anyway. Alright, so engine is in and runs now, right?
It runs.
Runs. You made it here.
I
Nice.
made it here. It's a V8 truck now, right?
Nice, exactly. Let's look at the positive side of it. So everything is good except the intake.
Correct.
I'm just going to put it over here.
Yeah.
Somewhere over here. Alright, no mass air.
No mass air.
Oh, as easy as it gets. Just tube, filter.
Hey, you said the words easy. I didn't say the words easy.
It's easy for us because we do this.
Exactly.
You can code it and make it look pretty when we're done.
Exactly. Everyone's got their own specialties.
That's it. Alright, let's take a look at what you've got. Let's lay it out on the floor and then we'll come up with a plan. Alright, or kind of a straight 45.
Kind of a straight. Yeah, you had me get a 180 and a 45.
Oh yeah, between that we can make that work. And a coupler and a filter.
Filter, yes.
Alright, grab me a filter. Don't you just love it when scam likely calls you all the time?
All the time.
They know it's a scam. Why send the call through? Alright, grab the filter and we'll start positioning.
Alrighty, sounds like a deal.
Alright, so I didn't really specify how complicated he wanted this, so let's see. Tighten that up. There we go. We're done. Chevy V8 swap from 1980. Look how beautiful that is. No hot air at all. Radiator gets plenty of clearance. So the filter is kind of small, so all kinds of room. You know, you never really know where to put this, so you try and purposely place it. You know, put it straight over here. There's all kinds of room down there. There's obviously a tray that's not been used. So we'll put it right here and then kind of do a kick. Way in a 90. So all kinds of room, all kinds of options right here. Alright, so this isn't going to be long enough for what he needs. You know, if we come out there with a 45 and then out of the throttle body with a 90, we're not going to have enough, but I'm not going to call him and get him any more stuff. So we have some more vibrant aluminum parts right here. So we will use some of ours and just not say anything. He's always taking care of those on our personal stuff when we powder coat stuff on our personal cars. He often says, you know what, come and get it. There's another 45. So we'll just go ahead and donate this to the cause and not tell him and just say, yep, we had enough material. And until he sees this video, then he's going to go, why didn't you tell me I needed more? So we'll use our 90 to come off here. We'll get it exactly right. Maybe kick it at 45 on a 45, somewhere around there. I don't know. We'll just make it up as we go along. Alright, so it's done. Let me get out the shadow. Here we go. So we used basically a 90 right here. We didn't use this U because the U had a really long radius, and that would have put the pipe way out here, or would have had to cheat the bend, and we wanted to have a nice straight here. So we got here, we have about a 15-degree bend, and then to a 45 right here. Then that way he's got some room if he wants to put a bigger filter on it, or if he wants to build a heat shield around here. It does have a little piece right there with a brace and a rubber mount, so it's got a little bit of flexibility. Trying to keep it parallel this way and horizontal this way. So there we go. We'll call him and say, there you go, come and get it, it's on the house. Thanks for doing what you do. Alright, so I've been experimenting with a couple of different cameras. Right now this is a GoPro 9 with an external mic, so let me know if this part is better. I'm going to try and use this more for future videos. The mic is directional, it has the windsock on there. Some of the video I just showed you, I had the microphone pointing the wrong way, so the sound is a little funky. And it's directional, which means it has to point where your sound is coming from. If not, it's quiet. And when you're talking to somebody else or filming a subject and I'm behind the camera, you can't hear me, you can hear that person. So I'm kind of experimenting. Again, these videos are just kind of on the fly. They're not proper production videos. So hopefully you enjoy the content for what it is. I listened to some really good advice. If you saw the time we were doing the AC lines on my truck, Jerry owns a shop not too far away. He's been doing this as long as I have. Much bigger shop. Now he has a couple of shops, I think, and then he closed one shop and opened another one. I don't know. But my point being, I'm going to try and take some of his advice. I always say to people, take people's advice that are doing better than you. And not to sound mean, but if someone has a beat up car and the paint's all faded and it always breaks down, don't take maintenance advice off him, because obviously he doesn't know what he's talking about. Obviously it makes sense. Well, he said to me, one thing you can't buy, you're going to work every hour you can, which I do. He goes, one thing you cannot buy, and that is time. And I took that advice 6 years ago to a point. When my son was born 11 years ago, I went to 6 days a week, sometimes 6.5. And it seemed like every time I turned around, he grew. And I'm like, wow, time is flying. Always chasing the next job, trying to stay on time. Well, then when my daughter was born, I went, that's it, 5 days a week. Weekends are off. Occasionally I'll still come in on a Saturday, and I try not to, but it's sometimes just to try and keep up. But it's not a regimented Saturday. Well, the advice he told me is 1 day a month, take off a Friday. Take off. You're not there on the Friday. Go work on the house, whatever. Go fishing. Go hang out with your kids. Go hang out with your wife. 1 Friday a month. He goes, you'll be amazed how much better you feel. You'll catch up. I just say I'm still getting over like a cold, because it's like I work so many hours. I don't get enough sleep. I'm getting little colds off my kids, and I do wear a mask. I am a germaphobe. I wash my hands. I'm not into the whole conspiracy thing. I just don't want to get sick. I don't want to get anybody else sick. I don't want to get myself sick. I don't want to get George sick. I don't want to be working with a stuffy nose and a rough throat, because I work a lot. So I'm not even going to get into that. You guys can argue that out. But having that 1 day a month, it's 12 days a year. Doesn't sound like a big deal, but it's something I'm going to try and implement. And I'm not going to be the boss that goes out playing golf and say, hey, George, Esther, you're working. I want to do it for those guys too. So tell me what you think. Tell me what your thoughts are. And again, not the guy that sits at home and is the TV critic and thinks everybody sucks. I'm talking about the guy that actually either owns a business, works in a small business, someone that works a lot of hours, someone that's in the same kind of position. They're the people I take advice from. The business life separate from my personal life. I get a paycheck, he gets a paycheck, Esther gets one. I don't own all the cars personally. I own the Colorado. The business owns everything else. So we keep that separate. But I want him to have a day off a month where he does whatever, even if he just goes home, washes his car. It's that relax, decompress, unwind, kind of the reflect on what you're doing the next week or the week before. You can't spend every hour working. So that's my advice to you. You cannot buy time. I'll try and take my own advice. I might not. I haven't so far. He told me that advice 2 months ago, and I haven't took it yet. And he even joked and he said, I'm going to call you on a Friday and find out what you're doing, tell you that you should go home and go fishing. Anyway, that's the end of the video. Sorry for ranting at the end. I'll see you on the next video. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button, hit the like, hit up the store, support the video, and we'll see you in the next video. Don't forget, enjoy your cars. More importantly, enjoy your time. You can't buy time.